This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning. So,
Good morning.
good morning, Jmeter.
Good morning.
So we will wait for 2 more minutes for others to join, and then we'll start our discussion. Yeah. So we'll start our discussion. Just a minute. Yeah. I'll quickly launch our course content. Yeah. So performance engineering life cycle that we are learning now. So yesterday, what happened? We started the few life cycle activity. I mean, requirement gathering, when developers are doing what they are doing, when performance engineers are doing what they are doing, like that we discussed. Okay, that is on the requirement gathering side. Okay, and then architectural review side, what will you do? Okay, architectural review side, when developers are doing certain review, what performance engineers are actually doing. Performance engineers focus on what activity. So something like scale up, scale out, all those concepts we discussed. Next one. Next one is when developers are focusing on coding part. Okay, when developers are focusing on coding part, performance engineers will think about optimization part. Optimization. How to do things in an optimized way. Okay. Say like what are all the optimization that you will think about? One is remove redundancy in the code. So what is that redundancy means? Repeatedly, there should not be any logic available in your application. So remove redundancy, implement simple code logic with the minimum resource utilization. I mean, you should not unwantedly declare high memory objects. So make your application simple enough with the minimum resource utilization, and then rewrite some part of the code. Okay, I mean there are places if unnecessarily you are using time means you try to minimize the time by rewriting the chunk of code, and then implement any readily available optimization technique in the market. So, so all these has to be done by the developers only, actually saying. But sometimes, they are not dedicatedly spending time in doing that activity. So as a performance engineer, what you can do either two ways. One is, if you are having the knowledge about coding, I mean, you are good with coding, means you can straight away implement it, or you document everything. I mean, point one, this is a problem. Point two, this is a problem. This is a solution. Like that, you can prepare a document and then share it to the developer. So either way, you can do it. Whether you are good with the development, you can do that activity, or you can suggest, you can provide your recommendation. But the primary goal is optimization. Primary goal is optimization. Okay. And then testing. When the unit testing is actually happening, along with them, or once they are giving the code to you, you have to do the performance testing or performance tuning. Performance testing or performance tuning. So performance testing, nowadays what is actually happening, nobody is actually doing completely all type of performance testing, they are not doing. So if you look at it, I mentioned like load test, stress test, endurance test, scalability test, volume test. Actually, more than this, also a lot of test types are there, but these are the very frequently used test types. But in this also, nowadays nobody is actually doing all these test types. They are only doing load testing. Mostly people are doing load testing. Any of your organization, you guys are doing detailed performance testing, or I'll put the question like this: what type of testing you guys are performing in your organization?
It's load test and endurance test.
Load
Endurance
test,
test.
endurance test. What else? Yeah. So that is what I told you.
We have a
Mostly,
scalability test in place as well.
okay. Yeah. I mean, scalability test as well, in the sense like you are doing load and scalability.
Yes.
Yeah. So why I am asking this question? Because uh, so why I am asking this question because nobody is actually doing all type of testing. But earlier, when we were in the waterfall model, that time we used to do all type of testing, and then we used to certify the applications and all. But now, because of the timeline pressure, we are working in agile model, we are working in DevOps model, we are working only for 15 days or 20 days. So because of that, you cannot do all type of testing and all. But that activity can be performed by performance engineer, because they are not working on any timelines. They don't have any release level activity. They are only going to focus on application performance optimization. Application performance optimization. That is the only thing they are going to focus on. So for them, they can do all these type of testing, and they can certify the application where it is actually doing good, where it is actually doing bad. Like that, they can provide the numbers. But I mean, for the benefit of others, those who are new to this performance engineering world, so for them, I'll give a little brief about each and every test type, and then we'll move on to the next topic. So load test means what? If somebody is asking what is load test means, we can tell them testing the application with the expected user load. Testing the application with the expected user load. What is the expected user load? That is a keyword, okay? What is that expected user load? This is the number that you are expecting in the production, real world. In real world, this is a number that you are expecting. This much of a people only will come for your application, like that you are expecting. For that number, if you are testing, that is actually called as load testing. That is actually called as load testing. So this question, people will try to ask like a twisted question during the interview. What they will say, like if it is a brand new application, what will happen? because the expected user load, you have to define it, right? You have to understand what is that expected user load. So application can be categorized into two types. One is new application, another one is existing application. New application, existing application. What is new application? Now only we completed the development. Now only we are going to deploy the application into the production. That is actually called as new application. Existing application means what? That application already there in the production. End users are already using that application. That application is actually called as existing application. So for existing application, it is easy, right? Because you have a production log with you. You can filter the log and then understand what is your concurrent user, what is your throughput, transaction per second. All those things you can easily understand because the application is already there in the production. You have the logs available and you can simply filter the log and then understand each and everything. But what about the new application? New application, you are now only you are going to deploy it into the production and you don't have any idea, right? Because logs will not be there. So that time what will you do? That is a question usually people will ask. So for them you have to answer like, or else I'll ask this question. What you guys will answer in this situation? If it is a brand new application, what you guys will do?
I believe there we will use the reference of NFR requirement, I mean non-functional requirement, like what was the expected load, user load outline, because like every application, like if it is a healthcare system, there will be a different user load expected, and if it is a like some defense related or missile related project, there will be a different load expected. So there must be some what you say, uh, some baseline numbers defined based. We can use that.
Yeah, I'm expecting one word from you. So, yes, whatever the explanation that you are
Yeah,
giving.
actually that word is not coming into
No. Actually, the word is actually assumption. You will do assume. Okay, you will assume in production. Yes, we are going to get so and so number. That assumption, how will you define? Because you are going to discuss with your customer, stakeholder, architects, business analyst, with everyone. We are all going to discuss, and then we are going to come to the number. That number is an assumption number only. We are going to come to the number. This is what our expected user load. But it may be right, it may be wrong. But because right now we don't have any number, right? So it is assumed that when we are deploying this application into the production, we are going to get so and so number. So that is actually happening if it is in the case of new application. Clear? Yeah. So testing the application with the expected user load, and the expected user load is X user. Say an example, X user means some 500 user. X means some example 500 user means. So you will test the application with the 500 user, testing for 1 hour duration. Load test, mostly people are doing it for 1 hour only. Very rarely 2 hours, but most of the people will do it for 1 hour. So which means that testing the application with the expected user load, X user, duration of 1 hour. This criteria, this is actually called as load test. Load test. Okay, load test. And then the second one is actually your stress test. Stress test, if somebody is asking what is stress test means, what you can say, testing the application to check the breaking point of the system. Checking the application to check the breaking point of the system. That word is important, breaking point of the system. But earlier, some years before and all, we used to test the application with variable load conditions. Say like 100, 200, 300, 400, like that. We'll keep on increase. At one point of time, your application will crash. Breaking point. Okay, the application will crash and we'll find the breaking point and we'll say like, this is the breaking point of the system, and based on that we will give the report to the customer. But now even no one is actually interested to break the system and all. Nobody is actually interested to break the system. So what they are saying, we know the expected user load is X, means you test the application with 2x, 3x. That is sufficient for me. That is how customers are asking. They are not expecting you to go till the end and then break the system. No, they are not very much interested in that. They are saying only to go with x, 2x, 3x, stop it. That is more than sufficient. That number is more than sufficient for me, like that. They are leaving. So, but by definition, it has to be tested the breaking point of the system. Okay, but people are not literally doing it. They are only going with the 2x, 3x condition, and they are stopping the test. This test is also 1 hour duration only. So testing the application to check the breaking point of the system, and the load condition is actually x, 2x, 3x, and then you are testing the application for 1 hour. That is actually called as your stress test. And then endurance test. Endurance test or soak test. Okay, one more name is actually soak test. Endurance test or soak test. So testing the application for a longer period of time to check the memory leak. So if you are running the test for longer period of time, is it creating any memory leak in your application or what? How will you understand that? So in that time period, what people are doing, they are measuring the memory graph. If the memory graph is like this, in parallel to your x-axis, if the memory graph is like this, that is actually good. If the memory graph is like this, it is exponentially going, means they are saying there is a memory leak. There is a memory leak because the accumulation is actually happening, but the releasing of the memory did not happen. The accumulation is actually happening, but the releasing of the memory is not properly happening. But in this case, accumulation and releasing is actually happening properly. Because of that, they are saying a good memory management. Okay. So during the endurance test or soak test, what people are doing, they are monitoring this memory graph to check is there any memory leak or what. Memory leak or checking the application for a longer period of time to check the memory leak. So those days and all, I mean some 8 years, 9 years before and all, they used to test the application for 8 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours like that. But nowadays it is not like that. Nowadays people are testing the application only for 4 hours. Only for 4 hours people are testing and they are certifying the application. But those days we used to test it for 8 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours and all to check the memory leak. Okay, nowadays that's not the case. We are only testing for 4 hours. That is actually called as endurance test or soak test. Okay, I'll take a pause here. Any question guys till now?
Yes. Why these hours like have been reduced? Because like 8 hour or 24 hour or even the longer duration have given a like a reliable result, isn't it?
Yeah, it will give reliable result, but the problem is we are not getting that much of a time nowadays. Okay, so if you are, say like you are working for a agile based application, okay,
Mm-hmm.
the sprint cycle is actually 4 weeks. Example, okay, the first week development is actually happening. The second week unit testing or the integration testing is actually happening. Say like third week end of it, if you are getting your cycle, okay, probably you will get 6 days or not even 6 days nowadays. 5 days they are giving for your cycle. So within the 5 days, what we have to do? We have to prepare the script, we have to run the test, prepare the report, and then we have to give it to the production deployment or next cycle of activity. So within the 5 days, I mean, you consider like scripting. Usually, I hope your organization will have some effort estimation for a simple script, medium script, complex script. Okay, so obviously they will not even do more than 2 to 3 scripts. Okay, 2 to 3 scripts in that time period. Okay, and then if you are trying to do a load test, they'll estimate around half a day for doing the load test, right? So
Sir,
if you
your
are,
voice is breaking.
am I audible now?
Yes, for me you are all the time audible. I think
I
no
think
issue at my side.
Meena, can you check from your end? Is it still continuing?
Uh, yeah, sometimes it's breaking.
Okay, so maybe a network glitch.
But
So
sir, doesn't it come with the risk? I mean, I understand there would be a time constraint, but then it, along with this,
truly,
we have a
truly,
risk associated, right?
yeah, truly. That's the reason I'm saying that can be done by the performance engineer. So performance testers only works for release level activity. Timelines are there, deadlines are there. So because of they are truncating certain things and then they are partially doing certain testing and they are moving the release because they don't have time. But not it is not for performance engineers, right? Let the performance engineer will do all those things, validate things, certify things, and all they can do it, right? Because they are having little more time when compared to the performance testers. But traditionally, if you go like waterfall model, no, we used to do everything because we have time. We have time, we did it, but right now we don't have time. So we are taking that small risk that application will still work if we are not completely doing the testing. So that is actually there. But realistically speaking, you need to do the detailed test because the test is for that. Why these type of testings are there? Each test type is actually attributed to one decision making. So memory leak is there, or what breaking point of system you are checking, like that. There are decision making is there. That is the reason each type of testings are there. But if you are not doing it, yes, you are taking that risk. You are getting my point, right?
Yes, it makes sense in that case.
Yeah. So and then the scalability test. Scalability test means very simple. Testing the application in current infrastructure with the future load. Okay, suddenly somebody will say, this year our user base is 1,000. This year our user base is 1,000. Next year we may be getting 2,000 user load. We may be getting 2,000 user load. Okay, so 2,000 user load you are going to get it in the next year means what I am going to do for that 2,000 user load I am going to test it in the current infrastructure now because I wanted to make sure in the current infrastructure itself whether I'm able to manage the 2,000 user load or not. So that is a reason. That is a reason. So which means that what? So testing the future load in the current infrastructure. Testing the future load in the current infrastructure. So load is nothing but future load. Duration is nothing but 1 hour. That is how you are performing the scalability test. That is how you are performing the scalability.
So can you give an example a little bit? Uh,
That's what. Say like Black Friday sale that I'm doing this year, 2022. I'm doing the Black Friday sale. Okay, I expect 50,000 user. I expect 50,000 user. I mean, not expect 50,000 user came this year. 50,000 user came this year. Okay, so I'm expecting probably 10 percentage increase or 20 percentage increase next year. Okay, which means that how much? 60,000. 20 percentage means 60,000, right? So next year Black Friday I'm expecting 60,000 user to be available because all the way year over year my user base is actually increasing by 10 percentage or 20 percentage. Okay, so what will I do? I have so and so configuration machine with me right now. Okay, some 64 GB RAM machine, 10 64 GB RAM machine, like that. So what I'm doing, 60,000 user load test, I am doing it in the current infrastructure. Say like the example that I told you, right? 10 machine, 20 machine. In that 10 machine, 20 machine configuration, I'm testing that 60,000 user load to make sure even if I'm getting 20 percentage increase in next year also, I don't want to invest anything further in the infrastructure because my current infrastructure is actually capable enough to handle that 60,000 user load. Clear with me?
yes, sir. Yes.
So that is a meaning. scalability testing means testing the future load in the current infrastructure. And then next type is actually your volume test. Volume. So from the name itself, it is clearly evident. It is actually testing the scenarios where you have more of database interactions. Database interaction, where you have more read, more write, okay, more update, more delete, whatever maximum interaction that you are doing it with the database, that test is actually called as volume test. Okay, so this volume test means you need to test the scenarios where you have more of database interaction. You have to test the scenarios where you have more of database interaction. This test is also for 1 hour only. This test is also tested for 1 hour only. Okay, so these are the frequently used test types. Other than this, also there are test types are there, like they'll say high availability. Okay, high availability means making one system goes down, whether the remaining load is actually distributed properly or what, like that and all. We used to test, but nowadays those type of testing are very low, because nowadays there is a concept called chaos engineering is actually started coming. Chaos engineering. Anybody heard about chaos engineering before? Anybody heard?
No.
Any of your organization they started discussing about chaos engineering? No, right? Okay. So chaos engineering means if I create any problem wantedly in your application, wantedly, that is nothing but inducing the problem. Inducing the problem. Okay. Whether your application is withstanding that or what. It is actually capable to run even after the disturbance that we are creating. That is actually called as chaos engineering. Okay, so nowadays a lot of applications they started implementing those things and all. Okay, so which means that a lot of tools are also there. Say like Azure Chaos Studio, Chaos Monkey, Gremlin. Lot of tools are there. Those tools are actually for in this scenario. Okay, so even I also got my Gremlin certification because you wanted to do certain activity, so we completed that Gremlin certification for performing this activity, because the industry is moving towards that. Chaos engineering is a latest trend in the market, so related to that I did that certification. So chaos engineering means purposefully we are implementing or inducing the problem in the system, and whether the problem is capable enough to capable enough to run. So which means that this is actually kind of an advanced version of the high availability test itself. Okay, yeah, the one version I would say. Okay, so like that also there are test types are there, but apart from that, these test types are very important. That is the reason I'm listing out all these things. I hope, I mean, in future if somebody is asking a question, these are the single liner keywords, because whenever I'm going for interview, I don't want you to tell the book definition and all. People will try to do like a book definition. There are people will say this is the process of converting, like that and all they'll answer. Actually saying that is easily evident that you are not worked in that space at all. Okay, the person who worked in that space, like the load testing, stress testing, endurance testing, they don't want to tell like a book definition. They will define their definition because they are worked in that. Okay, so in that case, this is how you have to define your test type definition if somebody is asking, and this is how you have to perform the test. I mean, how much of a load, how much of a duration, like that, we should understand. Everybody clear? Any question in this? Yeah. So this is what execute various test types. First of all, execute various test types, and then various workload. Okay. So this is what I mean. Workload in the sense like what? What is that expected in the production? And we have to do it with a different load condition to make sure your application is actually working fine. In that line item, you try to learn about Little's law. How many of you already aware of Little's law? And you guys are using in your organization? Little's law. Number of user equal to transaction per second into response time plus think time plus spacing. This formula. Nobody is using. Okay.
We are usually using the existing scenario and we are setting new scenario with existing one. We did not
Yeah.
get chance to.
Good to know, Meena. Yeah. So actually saying two attributes are very important for us. One is concurrent user, another one is throughput. Concurrent user, throughput. So most of the time what will happen, either customer will give you concurrent user, they will give you throughput, you will be finding it, or throughput they will give you, concurrent user you will be finding it using this formula. So you think like throughput is given by the customer, which means that transaction per second is actually given by the customer. You have to find the concurrent user, means number of user equal to throughput into response time, which means that your SLA or your script you are replaying and you are finding the response time, it is actually coming around 10 seconds. So response time plus think time is nothing but whatever the think time that are available in your script. Pacing, we know the definition for pacing. Pacing is nothing but time gap between each iteration. So for now we keep it like 0 because we don't want to give any time gap between each iteration, means we'll keep it as 0. And with that calculation, if you are giving, it is saying 1500 users we have to use to achieve the throughput of 100. So this is actually the Little's law formula, right? So which means that you try to use this whenever you wanted to get the clarity of your workload. Okay. And then production like scenario, that is very important. Production like scenario. So if it is an existing application, your logs are available. That time try to investigate the complete log and then simulate your production like scenario. Okay, production like scenario. In this group, anybody is actually doing a production like scenario execution? Anybody is performing with that? Why I am asking this condition? Because I'll throw an example and then I'll come to that point. So you are logging into the application, you are searching the product, and in that you are selecting the product, and then you are adding to the cart, and then you are doing the payment, and then you are completing the order. Okay, so this is a process. Any retail based application, this is a process, right? But if you analyze your production log or their funnels and all, so not always your login logout will have a more of transactions, right? Login logout will not have more of transactions, but search will have very high one, or even product select will have very high one. Add to cart will be little less, making payment will be little less. So there is a differentiation in the each and every activity that you are performing. That is one example. And there are scenarios. What are all the scenarios? Your password reset, or you are changing your address, you are changing your phone number. All those things are very less frequently used transaction. So why I am telling this example, within the transaction also, across the transaction also, there will be a difference between one transaction to another transaction. Not every transaction will have an equal distribution of the load. No. But most of the time, what we are doing, I definitely know everybody is doing that. What we are doing, say like you have 10 scripts, you have 100 user, means 10 divided by 100. Each script you will be giving 10, 10, 10, and you will be completing the test. That is what everybody is doing. I know everybody is doing the same. But realistically speaking, you have to do like a distribution, production like distribution, then only you are simulating the production volume. Now you are simulating the volume. Okay, if you are not properly distributing, it is only simulating the volume. You are not simulating like a production volume. Okay, so try to do this one also. I mean, where your production in your production, where you are getting more volume, right? That scenario you have to simulate it in the local QA environment itself to understand what is actually happening, how your application is actually reacting for that. That is very, very important. Okay, and then either baseline or benchmark the report. Baseline or benchmark the report. Anybody can say what is baseline, what is benchmark?
If the application is new and we don't have existing any test results, we will start with the single user or single iteration. We'll test for that and we'll baseline the for value.
We'll
Based
match
on that,
with the
we'll check.
discrete number.
Sorry, one at a time.
Like you said, like, based on with different stakeholders, we will be reaching on a assumption of a number that we can define as a baseline or benchmark for a new application. In a similar way, for existing application as well, in case there is a new functionality added where it can impact the performance, we will have certain baseline defined that would be part of our non-functional requirement for the performance. That's what I think.
So
A baseline is according to the market standard, like we have. So
slightly we have to change that understanding. So baselining means, okay, so you did one round of test by July month, okay, July month, and you feel like the numbers are very, very, very good. Okay, your transactions, your errors, your CPU, your memory, all those things are actually very, very good. So that release number you are making as a baseline for the future execution. So baselining the number, okay, baselining the number. So you will do one test in August, compare that with your July because July is your baseline. You are doing one more test in September and then you are comparing that number with the July because July is your baseline number. So that is actually the baselining. So your number you are making, I mean your number, you are checking your own number, that is actually called as baselining. You are baselining the number. Okay.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
In general, this is good, but in case of like any shopping platform where there are certain offers, like say we have Amazon in picture, so for like Black Friday or like the Prime days or anything special, won't the baseline number would be different from those special days?
Yeah, there are exceptions. No, there are exceptions because that's what I told you. It should be apple to apple, right? Black Friday is not apple to apple. It is like apple to orange because apple means what is your baseline condition means every release you are going to use the same load criteria. 100 means 100, 200 means 200. So that is how you can compare your baseline number. Baseline number is tested with 100 user load, but your current number is tested with 1000 user load means you cannot compare because that is not apple to apple. Okay, so if your conditions are changing, your baseline will not be valid. Okay, that's how your baseline should be. You're getting my point, Ravi?
Yeah, I got it. So I would say I would rather put it like baseline. Our baseline will be always given under certain condition. I mean, or assumption. Correct me if I'm.
Yeah. So that anywhere that small assumption will be there, Ravi, because you cannot fix a one baseline for all type of activity that are happening in your application. It is for the criteria that apple to apple. Whatever you are doing it, fixing it as a baseline, similar type of a testing if you are doing only, you can compare it. Okay. And then benchmarking means what? Benchmarking means, say, baseline, what I told you, your number you are comparing with your own number, that is actually called as baseline. Okay. Benchmarking means what? Your number you are comparing with the industry best player. Your number you are comparing with your industry best player. I mean your competitor. That is actually called as benchmarking. You are benchmarking the numbers. It need not be a performance number. Please understand. It may be a business number also. Your profit, your revenue, those are things. Okay. So your number, you are comparing with your industry best player. That is actually called as your benchmark. Okay. So baselining and benchmarking the report means your baselining means your release number you are comparing with your own release number. That is actually baselining. Benchmarking is nothing but your number you are comparing with the industry best player. Industry best player. That is actually called as benchmark. Okay. So these are the small understanding that you can have it. Okay. So for the learners who joined today for evaluating us, this is Kumar sir number 80199524227. So 80199524227 is number. Okay. This is Kumar sir number. I pasted in the chat, and I am also pasting it here also. Okay, I am pasting it here also. 80199524227. So today is, I mean, I would say the last day for evaluation. From tomorrow, only the enrolled learners only will be part of the group, and we'll be changing the link also, right? So only the enrolled learners will be joining from tomorrow, and actual things will start from tomorrow. So for the learners who joined today for evaluating us, I encourage you guys to do the enrollment, to do the continuous learning. We don't want to miss any topic. We don't want to miss any the concept that we are discussing. Hope you already aware that a lot of new things, lot of technical things that we are learning now. So we don't want to miss anything, means you can do the enrollments. So today is the last day for the enrollments, because we usually give 3 demo sessions for the learners to do the evaluation. So today is the last day. So 80199524227 is a number. You can reach out to Kumar sir for any further questions related to course content, course timing, commercial related things. And this is actually weekday session, Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday holiday. Every day 1 hour we are going to learn it. This is actually 25 hours of a session, and this is a time slot, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Indian time, correspondingly in other locations. So all these videos are recorded. I hope every day you guys are getting that video. So that will be there in the YouTube playlist URL, and this video you are going to get it for lifetime access. This is for you, and you can have it for lifetime access. And then Google Drive, in which you are going to store all the artifacts, documents, demo applications, and everything. We are going to share it through Google Drive. Okay, so the learners who joined today for evaluating us, thanks for joining, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge and experience with you people. And I'm expecting we all will travel in this course journey in the upcoming days. And thanks everyone for joining, and have a nice day. Bye bye.
Sir Anand sir, I want to talk to you.